So my daughter's just come back from Brownies recently with some more badges to be sewn on to her sash. I've sewn a couple on already, but I thought it might be really useful for you to see, for me to show you how I sew the badges on, because I know when I first started it was a bit tricky and I didn't really know what to do. So I've got my the sash, I've got the badge that I'm going to sew on. I've also got a bit of paper here which tells me where those badges need to go. So I already know that this is an interest badge, so this is going on the front of the sash and it will go under the others. The Brownie leaders are usually really good with being able to send you links so that you know specifically, and ours gave us a sheet which was lovely. So I'm going to sew on this dancing badge. I do it so that the crest is going to be facing upwards. So that's the right way, even though the writing and some of the pictures might not be. Oh no, they are all the right around. Okay, so I've got purple edging on this. So I need to go for a light purple thread. So I've got, in my sewing box here, I've got quite a few different colours. These came from Amazon. There were quite a few in this pack. I can put a link in the information. So I've got all sorts of colours. I'm thinking I've got two different purples here, there's another one in there too. But I'm going to go for the lighter one so it blends in a bit more so you don't see my stitching quite so much. So those are going to go in, that's going to go back in there. So what I do next is I'm going to choose my needle here. Actually no, first thing first, I need to pop the badge on and I'm going to use a pin, just a standard sewing pin, to pin it where I want it to be so it doesn't move. So I'm going to poke it through the back and then bring it back out the front again, just being careful not to get me. So I'm going to have a quick look and I can see that that lines up. It's maybe a bit far away from the others. I might just move it a little bit nearer to this one and pop it in, and when I'm happy with it, I'm ready to get my threads ready. So I've got my thread and I've got my needle. I've left the thread in from that I've used recently, so I know that's the one I've been using. So now I'm going to thread the needle. So this has got quite a wide eye on it, which is good. I find if the end gets a little bit frayed, what I do is just wet my fingers and twist the end to make it a little bit easier to thread. And now I'm just going to very gently pull it up until I get the right sort of length. I'm probably going to go up sort of arm's reach away. I want plenty of thread so that I don't have to start again halfway through with another bit of thread. So I like to make it 2 strands strength. Just makes it a little bit stronger. And then I'm going to tie the ends in a knot. I'm going to probably do 3 knots because I want to make absolutely sure that it doesn't start coming undone once I start sewing or when I finish. So this is knot number 2 and knot number 3. And my needle. So I've finished with the threads, I'm just going to pop that over there so it doesn't roll away. So now I'm going to pick, you can start anywhere on when you're sewing your badge on. I'm probably thinking I'm going to start in this corner because it's, to me, the most important edge is how close to the edge I am here and how close I am to the next badge as well. So because those are the 2 most important sides that I don't want to get wrong, I'm going to start with those first. So I'm just going to catch, I'm not going to go all the way through the sash, but I'm just going to catch it a little bit, and then I'm going to put my needle all the way through the badge. I'm going to be sewing at the very end of the light purple I'm going to pull it all the way through until my knot gets to the end, and then you can see there's two bits of thread just poking out, and I'm going to pop them underneath, tuck it and the knot even under the badge so they don't get seen, and then I'm going to go a fingernail width apart, and I'm going to catch the sash again and just push the needle through so it comes out the other side. Now I'm going to do a blanket stitch, so I'm going to start pushing the needle through, and then before I pull it I'm going to twist my thread around the needle, and then I'm going to just squeeze it through and pull it nice and tight, and then I'm going to go fingernail width apart again. You want to aim for the same sort of distance each time. You don't want to go too far away, because then when you get to the corners the thread starts to cross over and you start to see your stitching. So I'm going to, this is the distance that I'm doing, so it's sort of a fingernail width apart. I've put the needle halfway through, and then I'm wrapping my thread through, and then I'm just going to push the needle through and pull it tight, and that's my first blanket stitch done. And then I'm going to go fingernail width apart again, catch the sash and push my needle halfway through, loop the thread over, and I'm pushing with my nail, not my finger, because sometimes these ends of the needles can be sharp as well. And then I'm going to pull it through. Now it's getting a bit twisted, so I need to slow down a little bit. So I'm just going to pull it up very gently. That's it. And then pull it nice and tight. Okay, so I'm going to do the same again. Catch the sash and go through into the lilac area here, wrap my thread around the needle, and then pull it through. I've got a little bit of a thread here, so I need to work out which thread that is. I'm going to pull one at a time, and hopefully that will tighten. Not that one. I'm going to go to the other side. There we go, and that's just pulled and tight. And I'll just pull up here so it's equal. And then I'm going to go finger width wide again, through the sash, through the badge, wrap the thread around the needle, and tease it, wiggle my needle through. It's crushing through again, so I'm going to just do it nice and slowly. Get into the corner here, so I tend to go for a little bit smaller distance, because I want my stitch to be nice and tight to the edge, so it doesn't start crossing over into the dark blue. Same blanket stitch, and gently pull through. So my stitch is just resting underneath the corner there. So catch the sash and go through the badge again. Push the needle through. Getting a little bit caught, that's okay. Just going to pull. I'm keeping my pin in for a bit longer because I want it just to hold everything in place while I'm stitching. When I get halfway round-ish will be when I take the pin out. It's a bit trickier because I've got the other badge close to it, so I'm just still going to take my time, wiggle that needle through, pull it nice and slowly, and pull it tight. And then I'm going to catch the back of the sash again, and the badge, wrap the thread around, and pull it What I'll do is I'll keep going, and then when we get to the end I can show you how to finish it off. So thread round, needle, it's a bit tricky to pull through. It's stuck. Okay. Be a bit patient and slow. Okay. And then attach the sash. I want to another corner, so I'm making it just a little bit smaller. Okay, it's a bit easier now. And then round the corner, still doing my fingernail width apart. And then what I find when I do these badges is the more I do, the quicker you get at them. So my pin can come out now. I'm going to pop it straight back into my pin cushion because I don't want to be losing my pins, especially with children around. So I'm going to keep going. We've got two more sides to do. So pin through the sash and through the badge, thread around and pull it through. And this technique I use on all badges, so the badges on the blankets as well as the badges on the sash. That's 3 sides nearly done. I'm going around the corner. The last side now, and then to do this last badge. I like to do the badges as I go because I find that if I leave them to pile up, it becomes a bigger job. So it can take a little while to sew on the badges. So it's easier to do a little bit as they come in rather than doing 20 or so badges. I've done that before now where I've left 20 badges to sew on and it's become a big job. And then it takes me all afternoon, all day, and bigger chunks of time. So I find it easier to sew them on as they get them. That way they get to celebrate them at the time as well. So I'm nearly at the end, I'm just carrying on, threading my needle through, wrapping the thread around. Again. Sometimes wiggling it side to side can help, or pulling it out and bringing it back in again. There we are. So I just want to tighten that side, pull it through, and this now will be my last stitch. I'm pushing it through the sash, up through the badge, and as usual for this blanket stitch, and then to finish it off, I'm going to put it back into the hole I've just put it, so it's going over, and then it's coming all the way out, back, the sash, and then I'm going to catch the back of the badge, so I'm going through the sash and through a little bit of the badge. What I'm going to do is just check I haven't come through, because I don't want my threads to interfere with the pattern on there. So I've got my needle through, and I'm going to wrap it round twice, and this now is tying a knot at the end to stop it all coming undone again. So I'm going to wiggle this through, just do it nice and gently up. You can do more than 2 twists, but I find it tends to get a bit knotted, and then it doesn't get quite as tight. So I can pull it nice and tight. I'm going to do this now 3 times to make absolutely sure it's not going to come undone. Twice round, and then pull it all the way through. Needle's being a bit tricky, it's a bit thick. Here we go. Twisted at the end, so I'm just going to pull it down a little bit and then pull it tight again. And I'm going to do it one more time. Wrap it round twice, and this is just now to stop it all coming undone later on, because it's going to be worn a lot and washed as well, so I want to make sure it's nice and secure. And then I'm just going to cut the end. Now I want to leave enough at the end so that if it starts to get a bit loose at any point, I can just give it a bit of a pull and it'll tighten again. So although it's not particularly pretty on the back, it is behind, and then you can see each of the stitches around there now. And that's dancing badge sewn on.